guys, Gene here with G Squared Tactical. Thanks so much for joining us today. What we have on the table is a CZ Shadow 2 Compact. I should say the very sexy and the very new CZ Shadow 2 Compact. And since this was released on August the 21st of this year, which just so happens to be mine and my wife's anniversary of 27 years, and me being a CZ freak, everyone that's already subscribed to the channel knows about me, Gene, personally, that I'm a CZ freak. I have their bolt action rifle offerings, their shotguns, most of their offerings in the handguns, as you see my Urban Gray original Shadow here, we'll talk about here in just a second. You know that I'm a CZ freak, and when this came out and it just so happened to be released on my anniversary, it was almost as if the gun gods were saying this was made just for you. No, I'm just kidding. CZ Shadow 2 Compact, double single action trigger, very smooth trigger. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Chambered in 9mm. The overall length on this is 7.51 inches. The overall height is 5.43 inches, and it is just 1.3 inches wide, 3/8 inches wide, with these aluminum grips that are on here. It is a 4-inch barrel, weighs in at 30.69 ounces with empty magazines. The lower here is a 70-75 aluminum frame, very durable, very compact, takes off those precious ounces when it comes to how this feels, carries, and the balance, overall balance of this gun. They say that the trigger pull is smoother and has a shortened reset over the other Shadow offerings. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, see what our thoughts are on that. But overall, trigger very good. Nice fiber optic front sight. Does have a elevation adjustable rear sight that is serrated and blacked out, and has these pinched, almost, I don't know, like the roof of a house almost, kind of pinched ears on the side that almost seem to drive your eyes straight to that front sight. And this may be one of those that is optic ready that I never put an optic on, because CZ is just so nasty accurate with these sights and the way that it is set up already. So but anyway, we'll talk about that more here in a second. Does have a low profile ambidextrous thumb safety, but I would not carry this cocked and locked. You know, I have carried some 1911s cocked and locked, but when the safety pops up into the safe position, it seems more sure, I guess you could say, on a 1911, like it's more positively locked into place, and that does not seem to be the case with this. It seems as though it knocks off pretty easy, and with as light as this trigger is, I don't know how safe I would feel carrying it that way. To each their own, but that's just me. We'll talk more again about that in just a second. Does have a interchangeable, what they call a low profile magazine release button. It certainly does not stick off the frame as much as the original CZ Shadow here does, but it is off the frame or the aluminum grips just a little bit, but I do not have to adjust my grip to manipulate it. Very nicely done. And as I mentioned, it can be swapped for Trey, the left-handed guy here on the channel. It did come with two 15-round magazines. They are CZ branded, have the plastic bottoms on here. I'm not sure if Metcar made these or if CZ made these. Maybe if you know, you can let us know, but it does come with two 15-round magazines. And yes, the magazine out of my original full-size CZ Shadow does fit in there, and it does lock back on the magazine, and I can say from already having done it, it will cycle and do just fine. So if you have any magazines for your CZ Shadow, they will work just fine in the gun. They say the trigger pull on this single action is 3.4, double action is 10.3. Consistently, our trigger pull gauge was getting just under 3 pounds on the single action and just under 10 pounds, actually closer to 9 pounds on the double action. I tested other pistols that I know for sure what the trigger pull is with my gauge, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's just what it was coming in at. I'm just telling you what the manufacturer says versus versus what we experienced with ours. And let's see, I mean, it takes down just like the other CZ offerings, the P07, P09. You line up the little line here on your lower and your slide, and you take the butt of your magazine and push out your slide lock or takedown lever. I guess it could be called both, and just take the slide right off, just like you would on your other CZ shadows or most other CZ offerings. So now that we got all of the pertinent information out of the way, just going to talk a little bit about what my thoughts are. As I mentioned, we did take this out to the range. We did not do a full range review because Trey was not able to be with me, and so I just took my wife out to the range shortly after we purchased this. We put about 215 or so rounds through it, and I just want to talk a little bit about that after I mention a few more things concerning the gun. The mag well is not necessarily flared, although it does kind of come out here, protrude out here at the very bottom of the grip profile. But that really just kind of aids in how comfortable this thing is to hold and pushing your grip up. But it is very easy to load this. We had no problems out at the range loading and unloading this. And so even though it's not a flared mag well, very, very similar to what you see on the original, very shadow-esque, if you will. Now on the rear here, it does have your same 25 LPI checkering on the rear of the grip here, and on the front it is different in that it does not come all the way around the sides. It's just down the center here, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I don't like a super textured grippy grip, if you will, if that's the thing, grippy grip. Anyway, so it is a little bit different in that way, that it does come all the way around on the sides on the original Shadow, and it does not here on this one. And very nice beaver tail, just like on all the other Shadows. Get your grip way high, way up in there, nice and tight. Feels amazing in the hand with these proprietary grips that do have the torque screws in there, not some gawky flatheads. Very, very nicely undercut trigger guard under the trigger here, serrated on the front, just like on the original Shadow. And like on the original Shadow, the trigger guard is very similar, if not exactly the same in size, with the cutout up high here to really, if you're using gloves or anything, really easily get your trigger finger right in that trigger guard without any problem whatsoever. It's kind of squared off and kind of rounded at the same time. I'm gonna say squared around. I don't know, that's just what I'm gonna say. Anyway, as you can see here on the original Shadow, only has one slot for your light rail, light laser, whatever you put on there. I like the fact that they put 3 on this one on a compact version. That really opens you up for different options when it comes to putting different types of lights and different brands and so forth. I have had my TLR 7A up here, fits very nicely, comes back well into the trigger guard. I really like this light. I usually run Surefire, but I really do like this light from Streamlight, and I did have that mounted on there at one point in time. How it's different from the Shadow original. So on the Shadow original, you can see as you come down the slide, it's one uniform piece, or I guess wall, if you will, or side wall, all the way down from one end to the other. And on the compact here, it is cut out, beveled out, whatever you want to say, metal missing, if you will, all the way back to right near where the optic plate mounts up, and then it kind of widens out and it's just a smooth wall all the way back to the very rear. But that is a little bit different there. It does have the front serrations and the rear serrations. Surprisingly, with most CZs, even if it does have front serrations, I'm not very easily able to manipulate it using those front serrations because of how thin the slide is. But these are actually, maybe it's just attributed to how smooth the slide is in general on this gun. As you can see here, it's a little bit more difficult for me to manipulate that one for some reason. So I don't know if maybe it's got a lighter spring in this one. Heck, it might have a heavier spring. I don't know, but it just seems a lot easier for me to manipulate this from the front serrations than it is on the original CZ. Now, one thing that I noticed out at the range, no problems. We put 215 rounds through it, had zero issues with this gun, none. The takeaway I had was that I don't know, they say that the trigger reset is short. So let's just pull from a double action here. So it is set up a little far, but just perfect for me and my fat hands, because just the tip of my finger hits that. It's not flat face, but man, my finger just fits perfectly in that round shape of the trigger. You pull that back, it's smooth, zero grit, zero grit, zero grit, and it's just a very, very predictable break. Then you have your reset, which is fantastic. Dude, it is very, very tactile. You can feel it. That's probably the reason why what was happening, what I'm getting ready to explain to you, was happening at the range when we were negligently double tapping or discharging, but I just say double tapping, is that I can't put my finger on it, because on this one, I've been sitting here playing with it all morning.
Look, here's the thing. Fine. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
And it just, the reset seems the same on the original versus this one. It seems to reset at the same place. The trigger actually feels identical. In fact, there's been times I thought this one reset sooner than did the Shadow 2 Compact here. But they said, I mean, I feel like this one resets shorter, but they said this one has a shorter reset. There is definitely something fundamentally different about it, because I have shot this gun, the original Shadow, a lot, and me and my wife both, which my wife doesn't get a whole lot of trigger time, but me and my wife both on several occasions through the first couple of magazines negligently discharged or double tapped when we were not meaning to whatsoever. So I don't know if it is because of how tactile, it's almost as if something is pushing your finger back forward to reset that trigger. It resets so easily. I don't know if it's so much that it's shorter in that it's just way more tactile, like it's pushing back more on your finger, and you can really feel it, so it makes you want to use that reset, which causes you to inadvertently double tap that trigger. I believe that's what's happening, because the felt recoil on this is almost non-existent. I mean, even my wife said, like, just unreal how well managed the recoil is in this gun. I mean, of course you would expect it on a gun this size, but for a compact gun, just super manageable on the recoil. But we were negligently discharging that a couple of times, but no other complaints whatsoever. This thing was stupid accurate. We were getting, I got personally 32 shots in about a 2.5 inch, maybe 3 inch, maybe the size of the bottom of my fist here area, without one stray. And it was just unreal how nasty accurate at 10 or 12 yards this gun was. And I just can't say enough about the CZ brand, but the CZ Shadow in general. This front sight is pinned, so if you did decide you wanted to put an optic up here, say you wanted to put your Leopold Pro up here that has that little extra sight that they make that goes at the back here, I assume that would work out, in which case you'd want to put a suppressor height sight up here to co-witness. I know this is all silly, nobody's probably going to do this, but it is pinned and you can push it out the front just like you can most other CZs. Should you want to toy around with that or send it off, have it Cajunized, maybe they can put you a rear sight back here. I'm not really sure, but I'm not a fan of having a gun that I do not have co-witnessing sights with my optic. But for some reason it just doesn't matter on this gun, because if there's ever been a gun I've purchased that I have not fought one day since I shot it about putting an optic on it, it would absolutely be this one. Just stupid accurate. As I mentioned, you can use your magazines. As you can see, that's about how far it hangs out. If they're the P07, P09 magazines will not work. I wouldn't think I would have to say that, but people ask us that so much when we did the review on this gun. Just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. This is a P09 magazine. It won't go no further than that into the gun, so no, it will not work. This is a P07 magazine. It won't go no further than that into the gun, but your magazines for your original Shadow will work out just fine. Comes with your molded case here, comes with a tool to take your optic plate off, but it does not come with an optic plate. You would have to purchase that separately, and they're all sold out right now. But with this cold hammer forged barrel, not a tilting barrel design, it is just stupid accurate. I have not cleaned this gun. Trey and I plan to get to the range tomorrow, maybe Thursday. This is Tuesday, and do a full range review on this, maybe get a couple hundred more rounds through it. But through 215 rounds, it has been absolutely flawless. Cannot recommend this gun enough. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. If there's something that we missed, let us know about it. We'll be sure to answer any questions you might have. And be sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up, tell your friends where they can find a good blue collar review on most anything they're looking for. Thanks again, guys.